Welcome to the Beauty Salon
with Alyssa.
and Frankie, and today's glow up tip.
Steps. Make sure you get your steps in every day. They say aim for 10K. If you can't do 10K, do as many as you can, because to look good, you have to feel good, and that means getting your steps in.
Yes, that's very important. And we have a very special guest today at the Beauty Salon, Brenda K Starr.
Hello, darling.
Hello, living
Hello.
legend.
Hello, darling. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
coming
being here.
on.
I'm so ready.
So, why don't you tell some of the people at home that may be living under a rock a little bit about yourself?
So, my stage name is Brenda K Starr. I was born and raised in New York City in Manhattan in the Wise Tower projects of a Puerto Rican mother and an Israeli father. I'm of a family of 7 siblings.
Explains the
I've
beauty.
been singing since I did my first demo when I was 13. That was actually my birthday gift.
Oh, wow.
And I had a choice whether to have a get together, sleepover with my friends, a birthday party, and I opted out on all of the above and told my mother that I wanted to make a record and I wanted to be a singer. So for my birthday, I wanted to go to the recording studio and record my first record. So my mother saved all she could, and I was able to go to the recording studio, and there is where I found passion in music. And the engineer looked at my mother and was like, she really has something special. And I remember singing Love on a Two-Way Street. And it was an old school song, but it was redone by a singer by the name of Stacey Lattisaw. And then I went back and re-recorded the song and started taking the demo. But the demo was made of a reel-to-reel. And I would play it at the roller skating ring I would hang out at. I would just take it to people that I knew that were DJs and say, can you play my record? And they'd be like, when Slow Jam comes on, they'd be like, that's not you, that's Stacey Lattisaw. I was like, no, that's me. I got that for a birthday gift. So I ended up doing a demo, and then I started getting into breakdancing. I always loved just being in front of people, entertaining. And one day I just, started hanging out with a breakdance crew called the Dynamic Dolls, Dynamic Breakers. And I knew that they were going to be auditioning for a movie. So I stood up one night in my house and started writing a song called The Vicious Beat. And I took Planet Arthur Baker's Soul Sonic Force, doom, doo, doom, doo, 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 doom. So I turned around and I started writing, hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm here to tell you. And I started writing about a crew song, The Dynamic Beat. We're breaking boogie and we're right to the point. So I started writing the song. So that was my theme song. So the next day, they told us that we were going to be interviewed by the Eyewitness News, and they were going to come cover all different breakdance crews, and one of the crews was going to happen to be ours. So they would breakdance. I wasn't great at it. I knew how to pop and everything, but I wouldn't spin on my head or do anything like that. I just was afraid. I remember one time trying to do a dive, and I ended up cutting my chin, so I never did it again.
No,
So
you're too pretty. You can't break the face. No.
So I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to stick to singing and pop locking. So they interviewed us, and in the interim of them getting the crew dancing, I was like, hey, you, in the camera, and somebody saw me. And I ends up sneaking into 1018s one night, and the guy came up to me and said, hey, are you that girl, Brenda Starr, that was singing? I said, yeah, why? He goes, listen, let me get your number. Somebody wants to give you a record deal. And I was like, no. I was like, you give me your number. Because at that time,
Right.
I didn't have a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to tell him. So I got his number because I had a single mother. There was 7 of us, and we couldn't afford, a lot of things. My mother busted her hump. She did a great job raising us, but not always was our phone on. There were times that it would get disconnected.
Yeah.
So I gave him a phone number to a neighborhood payphone that was in between all 4 projects. It was the Wise Tower projects. And I called him, and the return number was a payphone. And anytime that I would get a phone call, it would be on the payphone, and I lived on the 3rd floor, and they'd be, Brenda. And I'd look out the window and be like, yo, you got a phone call? I'd be like, yo, hold it for me. And I would come down, and then I end up talking to the guy, and he offered me to meet a gentleman by the name of Jerry Greenberg. And Jerry Greenberg offered me a record deal. And before him offering me that record deal, I already landed the part for Beat Street but not as a break dancer. I stopped Harry Belafonte when he came in for the interview, for the auditions for the big breakdance movie called Beat Street, and said, Mr. Belafonte, my name is Brenda Starr. And I didn't use K at the time, but I kept K out of respect for my father. Brenda Kaplan is my last name. So it was Brenda K Starr. And I just felt like it fit. And my mother used to always tell everybody I'm going to be her superstar. So I stopped him and I said, listen, I wrote this song for your movie. I know my crew's dancing for you guys, but like, and they got called back, but I really don't want to dance. Like, I want to sing in your movie. Like, I could write a great song. I'm a good songwriter. Please, if you just give me the chance, you won't regret it. He's like, well, I'm going to get ready to go into an interview. So what I'm going to ask is if you wait around, I'll listen to your song and maybe I could connect you with somebody. I was like, I would love that. So out of the amount of time that I started away from, like, this guy literally forgot me. So they were cleaning out the 1018, which was the Roxy nightclub. They were cleaning out the venue because the auditions were done. And they were like, everybody needs to leave because we're done with the auditions. We only want cleaning crew staying behind. I right away grabbed a bag, started grabbing waters, putting a bag in it, and they were like, excuse me, you gotta leave. And I'm like, oh no, I'm helping with the cleaning crew. I was asked to stay and help clean. So I just started putting stuff in the bag and kept hanging out, and I was taking my time because I was waiting for Harry
waiting for him.
Belafonte to come down. He came down, and he came down with a tall gentleman by the name of David Pickett. I remember like it was yesterday. And I just started being like, I found love on a two-way street and lost it on a lonely highway. Ooh. And I was just singing a cappella, and then they were like, who is that? I mean, it was a lot greater. I was a kid. I felt like
that was pretty good.
I know.
You're talking about was better. This is pretty good.
So he was looking around, and I'm like, that's me, Mr. Belafonte. I'm like, hi. I'm like, what's your name? He's like, I'm David Pickett. I'm like, hi, Mr. Pickett. Nice to meet you. I'm Brenda K Starr. And he's like, nice to meet you. And he's like, I love your energy. I was like, I was waiting for Mr. Belafonte because he wants me to be in his movie. He said I could sing. Didn't you say I could sing in your movie? He's like, well, David is actually the gentleman who's in charge of the soundtrack of the movie. David, hook her up with Arthur Baker. I want you to connect them. Arthur Baker ended up being the producer of the soundtrack of the movie Beat Street. He gave me Arthur Baker's number, and listen how God works. Arthur Baker was the person who produced Soul Sonic Force, that song. Dum, 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 dum. So I literally was taking his music to inspire me to write something for the movie soundtrack, and all the dots, connected. And I end up working with Arthur Baker. From Arthur Baker, I end up becoming part of the Beat Street soundtrack. I started writing for the soundtrack. I wrote a song for Lisa Fisher called Shadows of the Night. I wrote a song called The Vicious Beat, and I ended up performing in the movie, and I had a bigger part than my crew did. So it was like,
That's so unique.
it's like God knew to put me in the right place at the right time. You know, my dad was in the music industry. He had that group Spiral Staircase. You ever heard of the song? I love you more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. It's a very old school song. It was about my mom. And he had a big record. And I just noticed that he would always travel. He wasn't always around. And I always knew that he was on stage, and I love.
Wait, your dad sings that song?
That's my dad. That's
my
dad.
Wow.
That's my dad.
Wait, that's nuts. Frank, that's a
Spiral
really big
Staircase.
song.
Yeah.
My parents listen to that song. That's awesome.
Later on down the line, my mother and him, they didn't stay married. They broke up when I was about almost a year and a half, 2 years old. So she was a single mother, and there were 7 of us, and out of 7 of us, 3 of us were from my dad, and it was a struggle for her. And I guess as time went on, I wanted to be able to provide for her. And my dream was to be a singer. So I did little movies. I was in the movie Slow Dancing in the Big City. The director was John G. Avildsen. He produced Rocky, and I played a tomboy by the name of Punk. And my boyfriend was a drug addict. And it talked about, I was in the movie with Paul Sorvino. So I did that movie. I did another.
I knew you had a resume.
Yeah. I did very young.
Wow.
But I mean, at a young age, my mom worked, so it was like my siblings really took care of us, so my mom could make the money. And I would buy a paper every Thursday because a lady I babysat for was in acting and dancing and modeling. She would always stop Thursdays at a newsstand and pick up a paper called Backstage and Show Business. So I was like, why do you buy that newspaper? And I used to babysit her daughter.
Yeah.
And I used to make like $10 just for babysitting all night while she'd be out. But it was just something like a job for me to help and have my own spending money. And she's like, that's a newspaper if you want to go like be on TV. I started looking at stuff and I saw an audition for Annie. So one day my mom went to work and I decided to take the train downtown and I auditioned for Annie.
So you had
And I
no
got called
acting
back.
background.
I had no acting.
And then became an
I just,
actor.
it was all natural. It was all natural. You know, I always felt like I always had like an outgoing personality.
Yeah,
I was
100,000%.
always like the life of the party. I was always the one. It wasn't about showing off. I just loved to be the center of attention. I used to love
You're
to
very
have fun.
outgoing,
Very
yeah.
outgoing, and I feel like
And you're
that's
also very easy to
just
connect with.
part-
Yes.
Yeah,
you have a connectivity to you that like draws people in and keeps them like enamored with you as you
Really?
talk. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's something about, I don't know how it's like your inflection, your tone, and your pace. It's very like magnetic.
Well,
Yeah, you
thank
got
I
like a good
appreciate
energy
it.
to
You
you.
do.
So you
Good
don't have to get
energy.
bored from what's going in. You know.
No, quite the opposite. I'm like, keep going.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing movies. I went to the audition for Annie. I got 2 callbacks. I was too tall, but when I told my mother, I was like, Mommy, I'm going to be, they call me at the payphone. They want me to go back because my audition was good, and they're going to put me in Annie. I'm going to be the first Puerto Rican Annie. My mother was like, "Tú estás loca. Excuse me." I was like, mañana, te quiero, mañana. My mother was like, ay, Dios mío, yo no puedo. So I ended up being too tall and I didn't get it. So then I just continued. I found agencies and I walked into an agent's office and I'm like, listen, my name is Brenda Starr. I'm looking for a manager. I'm looking for an agent. I heard you're really good. And that's how I got your name. And the guy's name was Michael Amato. I remember him till this day. He passed away. He was my agent. He was like, well, where's your pictures? Where's your pictures? Very arrogant Italian guy. And I was like, I don't have pictures. I said, I don't need pictures. You're looking at her. And he looked at me, goes, I love your energy. He's like, well, you got to get pictures. I said, well, I don't have money for pictures unless you're going to pay. And he was like, what do you mean you don't have money? You come to an audition, you want to meet me? You want an agent? You don't have pictures? I was like, well, that's why I'm here, because you're going to make me the money. And he started laughing. He's like, I like your energy. So I was like, listen, if you pay for my pictures, my first job, I'll pay you back. Is it a deal? He's like, I didn't even tell you I want to work with you yet. I said, but you do want to work with me. So he ended up wanting to work with me. I did my pictures. The first audition I went out to, I landed it. It was a Shake yogurt commercial. And I started doing commercials. And then fast forward is when I got into the Beat Street and the breakdancing thing. And then I got offered a record deal from the guy that met me in the club. He took me to meet the president of Mirage Records, which was distributed by Atlantic. So it was an independent label. And
But Atlantic
this guy,
wasn't
it was
small.
Atlantic. Yeah, no, Atlantic
Yeah, that was
wasn't.
big.
But Mirage was small, but it was affiliated with it, so it was distributed by a major. They
Right.
also had Shannon, who sang "Let the Music Play," "Give Me Tonight," and I was one of the new artists that they picked up.
That's exciting.
I auditioned for him a cappella, and after I auditioned for him, he said, "Come back. I would like for you to come back and maybe we'll have a second meeting." And when I did go back, I went alone because the first meeting I went with the lady that was like my baby,
Right.
that I babysat her daughter, because my mother was busy doing her thing. So my mother was like, just go with her because you know the music industry. And she's like, yeah, I'll go with her. And my aunt, she was like my aunt. She was like, whatever they say, si te pregunta pa cantar, you sing en vivo. So she's telling me, like, if they ask
Exactly
you to
what it's
sing,
saying.
sing live, you know, because you don't have a demo. And I was like, no, I know. Because I only had a reel-to-reel. I
Right,
didn't
you
have
didn't
the
have
cassette
the-
at the time.
right.
So I ends up going in and I auditioned for him. Fast forward, he asked me to come back. When I came back, he's like, well, you know, I really started to think about it when you laugh. I just really loved your energy. But more than that, your voice is beautiful. You have a good look. He goes, I would like to see if you'd be interested in working with us. Take this envelope. Because how old are you? I said, I'm 15. He goes, I want you to give it to your parents. I said, well, I don't have parents. I have a parent. And he goes, well, who do you live with, your mom? I said, I live with my mom. I says, but I'll give it to her. So I'm thinking it's a contract. When I get to my house and I'm like, Mom, look, open this. They want you to read it because they're interested in me. Ooh, the people at the record label, the guy's name is Jerry. And she goes, okay. So she's opening it. And when she opens it, I just hear like a, ay, Dios mío. And my mother just starts to like be emotional. She's like,
Oh,
no
was it?
way, no way. Oh my God, this is a contract. And it's a check. And I was like, a check?
Aw.
And I looked at it and I'm like, what is it, $15? She goes, no, $150. She goes, no, it's $15,000.
Ay, that's
And I was like,
Aw.
$15,000 for what? She goes, for you to sign. If you say yes, you get this money.
Stop,
Do
I
you?
have
And
the
I looked at
chills
my
right
mother
now.
and I started crying. I was like, so he wants me? And my mother goes, yeah. And I was like, okay. She goes, well, put the money in the bank because you could save it. And I turned around and go, no. I said, why don't we buy new furniture?
Oh.
Because I used to
Me
sleep with my
I'm
sister.
tearing up because this is
I used
so
to sleep with my
cute.
sister. We have 3 bedrooms, and my mother had 7 kids. My mother ran away when she was 15. She was in a really bad, situation as a young girl, and she had a stepmother. She didn't meet her mother until she was in her late 30s, and found out her mother was Puerto Rican, still a Sephardic Jew from Spain, and we did have Judaism from my mom's mom as well. But her stepmother was Puerto Rican, and she used to abuse her, physically beat her, and her dad used to work, and she just ran away. And so I got that check, and she's like, no, 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 it's yours. And I'm like, no, I want new furniture, Mom. Furnish the whole house. So we threw everything out. We furnished the whole house. And as soon as my record came out, after I recorded it, I told her to quit her job. And she started going on the road with me. I put my brother through college, my sister through college, paid my mom's bills, helped my mom, never asked for anything. And we have the apartment in Manhattan. I even bought her a house in Florida, but she didn't want
You're
to stay
such
there.
a good
Yeah, you
person.
really are a good person.
Such
She
a
didn't
good
really want to stay
soul.
there, but I end up. So that's really how my career started. It was really attributed to my mom's hard work and my brother, who, rest in peace, my brother Freddie would always pay for my singing lessons. I mean, back then it was $125 a lesson, which is a lot of money
That is
back
a lot
those
of money.
days. That was like 86, 85. So that's
Yeah,
like a
that's it.
$250 lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
at
I didn't
least, if
come
not
from a
more.
lot of money. So he would pay for my singing lessons. After I did the record, I got a hit. First was Picking Up the Pieces, and from Picking Up the Pieces was What You See Is What You Get. And then I Still Believe came. And when I Still Believe came out, it was the #1 record for like several months, weeks. I mean, it's what catapulted my career.
What is your favorite song?
I mean, I have to say I
Of
still
yours.
believe. I have to say
Yeah.
I still believe because it's my favorite song that I've done. Because it's a body of work where I could say it was the first time I was ever falling in love, had my heart broken, dated my first love, met him when I was 14, 13 and I'm going to be 14. I was with him all the way till I was 26, 28. I had 2 children with him, then we went our separate ways. So it was like I fell in love with my best friend, but then I grew up with him, and it didn't feel like a relationship. It felt more like I was with my brother, but then there were issues with substance, and I decided that I didn't want to raise my kids around that. And because I wasn't a user, I decided to stay a single mother and walk out of the relationship loving him, but knowing that it just wasn't right for me to be able to bring kids into this world and have that kind of energy around them. You didn't know what days you were gonna see a good person, a bad person. So I opted to be, a single parent, and I toured. I made great money, put my brother through college, and then is when my career just started winning New York City Music Awards. I was nominated for a Grammy. I had toured with New Kids on the Block. I was with New Edition.
Let me ask you
Color Me
this.
Bad.
What is your favorite part of your career been so far? If you could say one thing, like what comes to mind as soon as I say that?
My favorite part and favorite memory of my career would be just the fans that just give above and beyond for me, because like I wouldn't have a job if it's not for them. I mean, I've been on welfare, I've worked in bars, I've been incognito, I've worn hair pieces, I've worn wigs, I was on a major record label, and I feel like when my career took a turn, I thought I was losing it all. But in retrospect, it was God opening another door for me, and hence why I started going into salsa. Because in my English career, I had such a great career, and I toured all over the world. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you did your homework, but I had interviews and auditions for background singers, and that's where I met Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey came into an audition one day, and the audition was at 5 o'clock. She was there at almost 4 o'clock. I'm like, The audition's not till 5. Oh, I'm here to the audition for the Brenda K Starr band. I'm like, what's your name? Oh, my name is Mariah Carey. I'm like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm like, but you're early. But I looked at her and I almost saw like a mirror image of myself because the eagerness of wanting to do this. And I was like, okay, well, hang out, and I'll be back out. And if you want, you can audition early. She's like, if you don't mind, because I walk, because, I live far and I couldn't afford a cab and whatever. And I was like, of course. I end up auditioning her and I end up keeping her. And after a while, I started helping Mariah, and I just noticed that she would always be in a corner listening to earphones. At that time, it was the Walkman. And I said to myself, one day, I said, what are you listening to? And we started hanging out. Like, we became really cool because we lived on the road.
Right.
And she was waitressing and doing odd and end demos, but she was never getting signed. And I turned around and I says, let me hear. And I'm like, why are you singing background for me with this voice? And she's like, oh, because no one will give me a break. And I've tried so many places. Either they say I'm too white, I sound too black. I'm trying to sound too much like Whitney, this, that, and the other. And I turned around and said, well, you're your own person. I was like, you shouldn't be doing background. You should have a record out. She's like, yeah, but no one will help me. And I was like, I'm gonna help you. She's like, you're gonna help me? Why would you wanna help me? I was like, why not? I was like, you're so talented. And that's where the whole Mariah Carey thing started with me. And I just took her under my wing, and I would help her out, and we would hang out. When she was sick, my mom would make soup for her. She'd be in the studio at night and sleep all day. And I had an invitation to a party one night, to a record release party for a new record label, which was WTG, which was my first label, which was Mirage. The owner turned around and opened another label. And he was having a party to catapult his new label.
Right.
And my mom was my plus one. And I said to my mom, I said, do you mind if I don't take you to the party tonight? And she's like, why? And I was like, because I want to take Mariah. She's like, okay. She was like, is everything okay? I says, no, I just feel bad. Like she's worked so hard, and I see all these demos. I want to bring her to the party. Maybe I can help her. My mom was like, sure. So I took her to the party with me. But before I took her to that party, I had went to my producer who worked with Africa Bambaataa, who did my movie soundtrack, and said, listen, I have a friend. I want you to hear her cassette. Can't keep it, but I want you to hear it. If you're interested, let me know, because I want to get her a deal. His name was Arthur Baker. He said, let me hear it. So he played it for Angie Stone, who was an A&R at a label. I think she was at Atlantic or Columbia. I don't know exactly which label. Long story short, he passed on it. He's like, there's really nothing I could do with her. I don't know. And I was like, okay. Well, obviously I'll get my tape back when I get it back. So long story short, I give that same version of that cassette copied with my red marker, my infamous red marker, my handwriting. I put Mariah's number, Ben's number, my number, because I traveled so much. And whenever she wasn't on the road, at least I knew either they would call her, Ben, or myself. Had that payphone number all the time. So until I started really working and making money, and then I finally got a phone and everything. So the next day, I end up getting a call from my manager that Tommy Mottola reached out to him and asked him, I need to speak to Brenda. She gave me a cassette of a girl and I want to sign her. And I was the reason how that all took place.
I can't believe
And
that.
I got her first record deal. And
They say you only need one person to change your life.
Yeah, and we remained
you were that
very
far.
good friends for many years until the industry kind of got a hold of her, and the whole situation with her marriage, and Tommy ended up dropping me after I bought a Mariah and saying, unfortunately, I know you just finished this album, which was by heart, but we're gonna shelf the album. And I just had my daughter, and I was like, why? I turned in the album. I did everything. No one knew I was pregnant because I hid it. I did a great job hiding it. And then he's like, because I have to focus on Mariah. I think you should do more dance music, more freestyle dance. And I'm like, no, but I'm a pop artist. I'm a multi-international artist. I do pop, I do English, I do Spanish.
Right.
I was like, why would you fire me? I'm like, I just gave you something in your hands, and
Right.
you're letting I couldn't comprehend why.
Right.
But because I didn't think of how people think nowadays, like, don't help nobody because then they forget about what you do for them. For me, I didn't do it because I expected anything out of it, but I knew, obviously, if something would have came out of it, get my finder's fee, I'll get a little something. I got nothing of the above. I was able to help a friend that made her go from rags to riches, and
But you know what?
a mark in history is what I've done.
Bingo.
And you probably got good karma in return.
Yeah.
You know what? I think God has blessed me in so many ways. I have 4 beautiful children. I wasn't able to record in English after because whatever it was that Tommy Mottola did, he did it so he can block my vision, block my path, because it's called blackballing. He did not want me in the limelight. So I got drops, and I was getting odd and end jobs, working in bars, incognito, doing anything. I worked in an elderly home as a music therapist. I worked in hospitals teaching music therapy, bringing kids. I was a vocal coach. So in between, I was doing whatever I can continue to keep my craft and songwriting. And one day, I just was so broke as a single mother. And I remember going down to Board of Social Services. And when I was in the welfare office, this one girl was like, when I walked out, she's like, "That's Brenda K Starr." And I heard her say, "That's Brenda, I'm telling you, that's Brenda K Starr." And, it was social service, it was welfare. I grew up on food stamps. I've had my share of knowing what it is to have money, not to have money. And as soon as I felt that, I felt my heart fall to my feet. And I was like, you know what? Not only do I not want to work in a bar, strip bar, waitressing, cocktail waitressing, I know that I'm meant to do music. So if I can't make records, I'm going to write them. So I met up with a friend of mine. I said, please connect me with someone who will take my songs and put them out there, even if somebody else sings them. And my mother was like, don't give up. I know it'll happen for you. Just pray, Mama, pray. So I continued to put it in prayer. And I ended up being asked to go meet a guy by the name of Jeffrey Collins. And he owned a company called Dance Floor Distributions. And he said, can you write songs? I said, yeah. I says, listen, I'll write the songs. All I want you to do is give me a salary, pay me at least $700 a week, and give me health insurance. Because I didn't have health insurance, and I didn't want welfare, and I didn't want to be noticed in the office. Because I was ashamed, but I know when people need help, and I don't bash it, because get all the help you can. I pay my taxes. I had no problem being on welfare, because you know what? I needed it. And I needed it.
And that's what it's there for.
And that's what it's there for. So I started doing it, writing songs, and I guess God blessed me because he took me to Paris. He took me to Cannes and to play my songs for people. And somebody came up to me and said, "You Brenda K Starr?" And I'm like, yeah. He's like, "What are you doing with yourself?" I'm like, writing songs. I'm just, sharing my music. Wait a minute. Why are you not singing? You're not here trying to shop your deal. I said, no, I'm only shopping songs for other people to sing. No, why don't you sing in Spanish? I said, because I'm not fluent. He's like, didn't you do I Still Believe in Spanish? I said, yeah. So he goes, can you meet my uncle? He owns a record label. It's called Plátano Records. I was like, Plátano Records. Plátano Records is like Plátano parcha. So parcha is a fruit, and plátano was like a banana. And that was the name of the company. And I was like, I'm going from Colombia to Atlantic to Epic to Plátano Records. So I was like, you know what? Only God knows where he wants me to be. So I had taken a break. When the guy came back, I went and met up with the other gentleman's uncle, and he introduced me, and he spoke only in Spanish. I knew no Spanish. I only knew how to sing in Spanish because I had somebody helping me sing I Still Believe in Spanish. So I sang I Still Believe in him, for him in Spanish. And right then and there, he was like, we need to connect. He said, dame su teléfono, vamos a hablar. And I was like, huh? And I was like, no entiende. And he's like, no, te digo que queremos hablar contigo, vamos a hacer algo, tú y yo, vamos a grabar un disco. And I said, what did he say? So his nephew's like, he wants to give you a record deal. And I was like, yeah, okay, everybody tells me that. Lo and behold, I had his number. I go back to the States. And I said, you know what? I'm going to call this guy. He lived 12 minutes from where I had my house that was in foreclosure. And he met me. He paid all my mortgage that I was behind on. Amen. He put me in the studio. And every single night, I told my mother I couldn't do it because I said, Ma, I don't even know Spanish. She's like, don't worry. I'm going to translate everything. You're going to learn it. And I learned Spanish. I learned how to write Spanish. I learned how to read Spanish. I write it in phonetic spelling.
At this point?
I was 28 years old.
Oh, wow.
27, going to be 28. I knew nothing. I knew
Brenda,
gracia, comida. That
you
was
are
really.
like such an inspiration to a ton of
I
people.
know.
Thank you.
I feel like you should write a tell-all if you haven't
I'm
already.
actually working on it.
Yeah.
We're actually trying to find someone to write it for me,
You
and I'm
hear
actually
that?
thinking
You
about
heard it here. We're
doing
shopping around for a book deal, people. This is going to be a good read. I'm buying
doing
it.
a buyout picture because there's so many elements in my life that I mean, in this career, it's not an easy career. I mean, people think you have to have thick skin, and it's so true because
Yeah.
we are our worst critics. We are so I mean, me as a woman, you go, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I'm so ugly. Oh, I hate my hair. You're so self-critical, and it's because being in this industry, you're
Yeah.
under such scrutiny, and you want to make everybody happy, but you're not really making yourself happy. So in the interim of it, I have just been jotting everything down. I have a book that my journal I write in all the time, from the good to the bad to the breakdowns that I've had. I mean, this is a tough career that I had, losing everything and having to go into Spanish and not knowing the language, and going into a mental institution for 7.5. I was there for 9. I was there for almost 12 days. I had a bad nervous breakdown because I felt like I lost everything. And I had 2 little girls that depended on me. And I didn't know any Spanish. And I was offered this record deal. And I was so scared. But after doing the record, it just shot up to #1. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't support this project because I don't know Spanish. So I would sit there and ask them, could you tell me what questions I'm going to have before so I can practice? And I would practice my Spanish and watch the news. But that's why I make it very, like, I try to keep it as clear as possible for parents to really instill in your kids to be bilingual, trilingual, because our world is built up of different nationalities. And we need to know different languages to be able to just to communicate. And I communicate through my music. And I feel like you asked me what's my favorite song. I say as I still believe because it created my career. But to be honest with you, I just feel like Herida is one of my biggest Latin songs I did. And I did that without even knowing Spanish. I knew exactly what it meant. And I feel like I wasn't expecting for it to take off the way it did. The Premio Lo Nuestro, Premio Lo Billboards. I won 2 Latin billboards. I was traveling all over the world. And I just figured that I lost one deal to obtain something new, and it also gave me a chance to really appreciate my culture, to appreciate where it is I came from, appreciate the fact that you can't forget that you could be up here today, but if you're down here tomorrow, remember to stay humble and grounded because you can lose it all. You could lose it all, and I think that's the reason why God has blessed me to navigate me to find things that'll work for me. And you got to go through the bad to get the good, especially through this career. That's why when a lot of people say, I want to be famous, it's not about being famous, it's about the work you put in it. And when you could really enjoy the fruits of life, it's not how much money you make. Like me, like I don't have to go out and buy me a Louis bag, a Gucci bag. I'll go to Forever 21 and grab me a really cute bag and feel happy-go-lucky because I know what it is to not have. So I don't try to overdo because, why try to overcompensate when you're comfortable with what you have?
I think that's an amazing thing for our viewers to take away. And I could sit
Yes.
here and talk to you all day long because you're just so fascinating. But if people want to find you outside of here on social media, how would they be able to find you?
So they can go to Instagram is the official Brenda K Starr, and Facebook is Brenda K Starr. TikTok is BrendaKStarr.com, and then the website is www.BrendaKStarr. And I guess Twitter is just Brenda K Starr, and YouTube, you've got all my videos. It's all under Brenda K Starr. And I plan on, right now, I'm in the middle of just recording a song called Fuera de mi vida, which is another one. It's called Fuera.
Yeah.
And there's another song called No me da la gana, which means like I don't even have the urge to be with you. And it's a very corte vena, I mean, it's like a song that's like cut your veins. It's about pouring it out to the women that, be proud of who you are. And it's a lot of the women, like especially in Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, they love, the U.S. as well. I can't say I have great U.S. fans. They love my albums because it's so relatable. It's about breaking up. It's about being a strong woman standing on your own. And I think that that's like the story of my life. I pretty much raised myself pretty young to be, a partner for my mom so that my mom could have and my siblings could have. And I started working really young because I knew what I wanted. I don't think I had a plan B. I always wanted to be a singer.
You made it work until it worked.
Always made it work. And now with social media, it's a lot easier because people could see your talent. And I'm beyond my years with certain things like that. I still do stuff with social media, but I thank God that I have the fan base that I have that still, they pass my music on to their kids. And I'm looking at TikTok and there's a girl from Colombia, like 9 years old, singing my song, Herida, No Digas Nada. I see people singing I Still Believe. Mariah Carey redid I Still Believe. So for me, it's like, I feel like if tomorrow my career ended, I have not only left a beautiful musical legacy behind, but I created and I discovered the biggest talent in music history. And I have a really big part in that. So I can know that I really am proud of myself for that, and that there was never a jealous bone in my body, because I feel like if you make room for someone, there's always room for you. It's not a competition. It's just about
There's always
thriving.
a seat at the table.
Yes.
Okay?
I said there's always a seat at the table.
There's always a seat at the table. And if there's not, somebody's going to get up, you could take it.
Hello.
Oh, would you look at that?
Brenda, you are a ray of sunshine. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope we get to see you again.
I hope so too.
I
And then to
know.
everybody watching, just so you know, I have a new single coming out. It's called Set Me Free, and it's a dance record. We got an EDM version. We have a dance
I
version.
will
We
be
have a
playing that while I
tribal.
blow dry
We
my
have an
hair.
Afro beats version. And I have a new Spanish song coming out, which is Fuera de mi vida. Everything's coming out. And also, No Me Da La Gana is everything's going to come out after the new year on Star Records, which is my label. So please make sure you support it. And just, to everybody, thank you for keeping me relevant and allowing me to enjoy this journey, because like I said, there's a lot of young talent out there, and to still be able to do what I love, it doesn't matter how famous I am. It's about how much I love doing what I do.
And you're the best, Brenda K Starr.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks, guys, for listening. You can find me on all socials at Alyssa Grassi.
And you can find me at the Frank Joseph.
Bye.
Tootsies.